สวัสดีครับผมชื่อทอสตินแล้วก็ผมเป็นช่างภาพที่ Cinema Studio ที่กรุงเทพ I have been a photographer for over 30 years, so pretty much all my professional life I've been working in this industry. I worked for big clients like Coca-Cola, Microsoft, Mitsubishi, Toyota, Procter & Gamble, Oracle, just to name a few. Before we opened the studio here in Bangkok, I worked mostly in stock photography. So I produced images for the big stock agencies like Shutterstock and Getty Images. Then with COVID, we couldn't travel anymore, so we decided to open the studio here in Bangkok. Today, we have one of the most advanced photo studios in Thailand, and we offer our services here to our clients in Thailand and abroad. Today I want to talk about jewelry photography. Jewelry photography comes in two different forms. First of all, it's the jewelry itself, maybe on a white backdrop or on a gray backdrop, so where we focus just on the jewelry itself. Another part is if we put the jewelry on models. That is a completely different ball game because you're working with people. That means you need a whole team. You need a makeup artist, you need a stylist, you need, of course, the models to it, and you need the photographer who can work with both the jewelry and the models. For model photography and jewelry, the light is pretty much the same as if we would do in a normal fashion photo shoot. The only difference is that we need to highlight the jewelry. So we are running around with a makeup mirror trying to highlight the jewelry on the models itself. We always have to remember this is not about clothing, this is not about the model, this is about the jewelry. So our main focus will always be on the jewelry, and that has to stand out on our models. We're using Studio B, our biggest studio here at Cinema Studio. We have a nice wide infinity cove. It's a big studio with 4.5 meter ceiling height. Okay, let's start with the light. For jewelry photography, lighting is very easy. We just use one light as a main light from the top. And I usually use, for our main light, I use a softbox. So making sure that this is just from the top one light. The hero of the day is this diamond ring with rose gold. We want to shoot this ring with a glass plate underneath so we get some nice reflection of the ring itself as well. So for the shoot today, we have to use some props. So for example, for starters, of course, we're going to use gloves so that we don't put fingerprints on our jewelry. Then before we start shooting our jewelry, we make sure that we polish it with this anti-static cloth. And then last not least, to get the highlights of the ring out again, we're going to use these makeup mirrors to reflect our main light back to the ring. The problem is with jewelry, you're going to have reflection. So in this shiny surface of the jewelry, you will see the reflection of the entire studio. So you aim to get as much white space around the jewelry as possible. For that, we're just using just like white PVC backdrops. For taking pictures of jewelry, obviously you have to go very close to your subject. One way to do it is using a macro lens. Macro lenses allow you to come much, much closer to your subject, and they offer the best quality. In this case, we are using a 105 millimeter macro lens from Nikon with f2.8, which is our get-to-go lens for all kind of jewelry shots because the quality of this lens is completely outstanding. Alternatively, if you don't have a macro lens, you can use these very inexpensive step-up rings. Step-up rings are rings which are coming between your camera and your lens. With this, you can get much closer to your subject again. The only downside is that you can't focus on infinity like you can do with any other normal lens. So that I get a nice reflection on the highlights on the diamond. Yeah, that's perfect. What we do is that we do some focus taking. So I'm just taking, I'm not shooting it out of focus. I'm shooting it on manual focus and shift my focus while the camera stays completely still. I have to shift my focus on the subject back and forth to make sure that I'm getting the right focus on different parts of my subject. Now I take about 10 different shots so that I can Photoshop them together afterwards because we are so close to our subject that the entire ring won't be in focus. So I would have to do some focus stacking to get all the elements in focus. When I started in photography, we spent loads of time in the darkroom. Today, we have what we call the digital darkroom. or in other words, Photoshop. Photoshop is a tool you need to know as a photographer today. Knowing your way around Photoshop is essential as a photographer. Doing everything in Photoshop, fixing everything in Photoshop is bad photography. So you're supposed to take the picture as good as possible in camera to begin with, so that you don't spend too much time fixing the pictures afterwards on the computer.